Every agent we have built so far answers in one pass. React thinks between tool calls, the planner writes the route up front, the orchestrator delegates its workers. But in all of them, the first answer the model writes is the answer you get. Nobody ever checks it. So today, we add a critic. The agent drafts an answer, then looks at its own draft and decides whether it actually holds up, and if it does not, sends it back to be fixed. And here is the promise, same as always. We are not adding new machinery to do it. Draft and revise are single model calls. The critic is the exact React loop from episode 2, tools and all, except the tools now belong to the critic, not the agent that wrote the draft. It does not trust the draft or its own memory, so it verifies. Pass and we ship it. Problem and we revise and check again.
Every agent we have built so far answers in one pass. React thinks between tool calls. The planner writes the route up front. The orchestrator delegates to workers. But in all of them, the first answer the model writes is the answer you get. Nobody ever checks it. Ship a guess, and a guess is what the user gets, confident or not.
So today we add one more step. Draft, then reflect, then revise. The agent writes a first answer, fast and confident, no tools, because we want it to commit to something. Then a second voice reads that draft and decides whether it actually holds up. If it does not, the draft goes back to be rewritten and gets checked again. That loop is reflection.
Here is the part that matters. The critic is not a new kind of agent. It is the exact React loop from episode 2, tools and all. The only thing that changes is who owns the tools. They used to belong to the agent writing the answer. Now they belong to the critic. It does not trust the draft, and it does not trust its own memory about something it has never actually looked up, so it verifies, the same way any React agent verifies. Call a tool, read the result. And that is exactly why the stop and truncate honesty rule from episode 2 matters more here, not less. We cut the model off the instant it writes an action, so it can never invent its own observation. For a normal agent, that stops a hallucinated tool result. For a critic, it stops something worse. A model that can hallucinate a lookup can just as easily hallucinate a glowing self-review and rubber stamp a wrong answer as confidently as a right one. So the critic finishes with one of two verdicts. Pass, and we ship the draft exactly as it is. Problem, and it says what is wrong, plus the value it actually verified. On problem, revise rewrites the answer using that verified fact, and the critic checks it again. Notice what decides the loop is over. Not a counter, not a fixed number of rounds. The critic's own judgment. Pass when it passes, and not a step before. One more thing before we open the code. Each reflection round runs as its own nested trace, the same nesting we added in episode 8. So you will see, line by line, exactly what a second opinion costs you in extra model calls. Let's open the code.
Okay, let's talk about reflection framework. So up to now, we have the agent. It tries to find some steps, run those steps, and give us an answer. But what if we want to have a supervisor for that? We want someone to check if the result is good at all, if it does pass some kind of criteria. So we need a reviser. So let's get to the code and we will see what we have. Everything is like before. The only thing that we are adding is another loop to check the results and more prompts. So we have a React format, we have a draft system, because for this example, I want just for the first answer, I don't want to get a good answer. I just want to LLM tries from himself without looking up the numbers and give us an answer that is not good enough. So the system can criticize it and we go to the next loop. Then we have a critic system. You can just read the prompts when you have time. I don't go through them. And then we have the revise system. So unlike other times, we have also the tracer. We have the reflect function that has the task, draft text, and round number, tracer, so it can read everything and decide if it passes the criteria or not. And then we have the revise function that if the task needs a revise, it has the task, it has the draft text and critic. So let's actually run the demo and see the results. So I went through demo. So the first thing that is the question a customer, like before on the Nimbus Pro plan, sent this number of API requests and then the rest. Drafts, that is our first pass, answered straight from the model's head. 50 of your API requests were rejected. The Nimbus Pro plan has a rate limit of 100 requests per minute, which you exceeded. Then we go to the reflect, round 1, to criticize or check the answer. The agent checks its own draft with tools. First, we see the touts. The draft stated 50 API requests were rejected. This implies 100 were accepted. I need to verify the rate limit for the Nimbus plan to see if 100 requests per minute is the correct limit. It needs an action to look up the Nimbus Pro plan and observation. Nimbus Pro plan allows 60 API requests per minute. Then it has these facts. It needs to think in, and then after that it says the draft states the rate limit is 100 requests per minute, but the lookup tool shows it's 60. So it says the difference, and it does also an action. We need to do an action of calculating 150 minus 60. The observation would be 90. And at the last round, the critic says the problem is the number of rejected requests is incorrect, and the stated rate limit is also incorrect. It goes to revise loop and tries to fix it. Under round 2, it gets the correct answer, and the critic at the end gets passed. We can see the whole process here, the whole cost that we have, and that's basically this frame that will put more tokens, more context, but we will make sure that someone has criticized it.
So that is reflection from scratch with no framework and no new machinery. A one-pass agent ships whatever the model happened to write first. Reflection adds one more voice, a critic that reads the draft and verifies every fact and number with tools, under the same stop and truncate honesty rule from episode 2, so it can never hallucinate its own review. It hands back a verdict, pass or problem, and on problem, revise rewrites the answer and the critic checks again, looping until it passes. The stop condition is not a counter, it is the critic's own judgment. And because it has to verify instead of just agreeing, it cannot rubber stamp a confident wrong answer. The nested trace shows exactly what that second opinion costs. Next episode, the agent stops using tools we handwrote ourselves and starts talking to tools someone else built, MCP, from scratch. If this helped, like and subscribe. The code is in the description. See you in the next one.